I had spoken with a guy from the Snow Leopard Force. I guess they're arch enemies of the Ibex troop, and yeah, you guys have some things to work out between yourselves, I guess.
So this is a creationism room. It's about like creating things, because I like creating things. I'm a very creative person.
Well, it depends on what you mean by create. The strictest definition of the word create, i.e., like religious people use it as coming from no
along say the astroturf.
Like
I just
universe was created by a god through some kind of like a magic.
Did somebody say magic?
Welcome there, Progressive. Could you Progressive?
Hey, boys and girls. I'm part of the Mountain Goat Wizard Warrior faction. I just came down from the mountains to fight you all because I think you're all weak and pathetic, and the fact that you're sitting here having a conversation during work hours at a work week, it's pathetic. How many times is Honey gonna do the same game? And Abby escaped from Chernobyl. Have you seen what Abby looks like?
Is popping up on my YouTube with 2 viewers. Although you're just share streaming. I actually thought about joining, and it was just your fucking.
You have to find this other stuff.
I think you're gonna. I don't think you have enough phones. I think you're. What are you at? You're at like 28 phones. I think if you're trying to come there, you need at least 50.
Oh, we're way past 50.
I think he's at 100 now.
Yeah, we're close to 100 cell phones in this house.
100 cell phones. Oh my god.
Why does this faggot retard keep muting me? Stop muting me, Mark. You're too progressive. You're too progressive. And stop tricking all these creationists coming to your playroom. You're just gay, like Kevin.
We all gay.
Speak for yourself.
Just like we're all creationists, because we all believe that things are created. Created things. We all believe in creating.
By the definition of the word create, if you mean like you made a painting or you sort of were creative with a painting, then okay. I mean, if that's what you mean, but that's not what the word means.
That's what I mean. I'm very creative.
By the world or the universe coming into existence, some from nothing.
I mean, what is nothing? The absence of something. But if there's nothing, then how can you have nothing? Don't you need something for there to be nothing?
Yeah.
Because it's relative.
I think so too.
Damn.
Crazy stuff.
We got some pairing of opposites.
It is. That's why I'm fine saying that I can't even wrap my head around that concept, which doesn't mean it's not something that it gets messy, and I think it's fine to say that something has always existed. That's my position. I don't think that there ever was nothing, you know?
I mean, even if you're...
Furthermore, which is like, we don't even really have, like, the ability to know anything beyond the model of the Big Bang right now. Like, that's the limitation of our knowledge. So, like, you have to just admit that you don't know, like, the origin of the universe, like everybody else. You have to just finally break and face with reality and go, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know and you don't know. Nobody knows.
I mean,
And I have to be okay with that.
dangerous to think that there's always been something when presumably they think that there's always been God, right? Why is that any less preposterous than saying that there's always been something?
It's not that it's any more or less preposterous. It's just on equal ground if I were to say the universe always existed and there's no need to posit this God or even to assume a God. And that's where the next problem would always lie on the believer is the assumption that there's this God. Where if I'm just going to take it on the face value, I'm not going to take this stuff on an assumption. I'm going to go with what I know.
I don't think it's really worth debating creationists or the existence of God or any of these things. I've never seen a good, good one of these.
Well, it's worth discussing because it's probably one of the biggest questions of our existence. But debating, no, because I don't understand what the point of a debate is. Some people seem to understand.
This is fucking beautiful!
You don't want to come to
This
a
is beautiful!
discussion assuming ahead of time that you're correct and the other person is incorrect. That's not going to really do anything.
Over and over again.
I just think it's really strange how well before we get into this, and you just say, hey, I'm not like Christians and Muslims. I don't believe that things just pop into existence out of nothing. Okay? And if you just put that forth first, they're like, wait, what did he just say? And now they're distracted. And they're like, wait, did he just say Christians think that way? And then they'll want to defy that in their minds, right? But then when you ask them a couple questions after that, they reveal that that's exactly what they think. And I just find it super dishonest when they try to dodge that fact.
I thought you were going to say once they're distracted, you kick them in the nuts or something. And then you scream that you've won the debate. March around with your hands up in the air in victory.
There's a debate that they were having on YouTube, and the opening has like this AI generated song. It's got to be AI generated, and it's kind of like this metal song that would make Roy this freaking puke. But it's kind of catchy and it's funny, and it's like the lyrics are hilarious, dude. Because all they're doing is promoting this bloodbath debates, or what do they call it? I think they call it bloodbath. Yeah, I don't know. It's really funny, dude. Like, I'll find it and I'll post it. It's just like, I had to give them props. I'm like, dude, that opening song is fucking hilarious, dude. It's so catchy and funny, and I don't know. It's just funny. Like when you get into this shit, you realize the people that aren't afraid of like being, I don't know, counterculture or was fun and games and humorous, and it's just like so funny. And then these other guys are like so serious and like dishonest. It's so fucking, it's just so crazy to me to witness this shit.
I'm gonna be honest. I think philosophy.
Do you mean all philosophy is idiocy or stupidity? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I think almost all of it. I think it's pretty stupid. I think people. I think that like having a grasp of facts is very tedious and annoying to people. And if you instead of like arguing the facts of a particular, you can just philosophize.
Actually, the philosophy fails there completely, and I can understand it looks stupid, but we don't have any other method to prove anything in reality or to prove anything at all. Yeah. And if you don't philosophize, if you don't go to philosophy, then you're limiting yourself, in my opinion. You know? It's good to dream, have a positive outlook on what's beyond rather than what it is. Otherwise, it kills the argument right there. You know, you can't prove it in reality. It's stupid. I don't even want to talk about it. What's the point of debating it at all? And in public fucking displays, we have grown adults pretending that there's religious holy wars going on in the Middle East and shit like that. Like that's a problem. That's a well-used tool since the beginning of time, and it shall be used by all these Mechanades in the future as well. You can't say it's a bad thing. These people in those positions have to do that. They need to justify it somehow, right? No, they don't. Paula Dean, this fucking grifting, cheating fucking bitch in the United States that is Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, does not need to be.
Wait, no, not Paula Dean. That's
I know. I'm just saying. I'm saying all these people. He said no. It's gonna be.
Wait, no, I don't think that's her. Isn't Paula Dean like the fat bitch that cooks?
Paula White?
Oh, maybe her name's Paula Dean White.
I think Paula Dean is like the fat Southern lady that makes fried chicken and says the N-word.
Her name's yeah, maybe it is.
I think this is a microaggression. You're getting your old racist ladies mixed up.
It's called misattribution. Sorry, Kane. Paula White Kane, not Dean. Yeah. I mean, the fact fact that she's speaking publicly in the Oval Office and everyone just accepts that and allows that and like nods their head and smiles and claps and just shuts the fuck up and doesn't call this shit out. And when Pete Hegseth is on a fucking national stage and he's talking to cameras and like military people who are grown adult men and women, yeah, it's a fucking problem, bro. Yeah, I don't like it.
I see you like to keep religion out of the statehood, I guess. Which
I like to keep the religion out of statehood.
Yeah, people shouldn't use that.
Yeah, I don't think any grown adult who has influence in politics or any kind of policy making should be using God as a reason to go kill kids. Yeah,
that's a given. Man. I totally agree with that. But unfortunately, that's how they work. Like, look across the world, there are countries who use religion more than the U.S. does, right, to justify their actions.
Who does more than the U.S.?
I mean, there are many countries out there that are, more, they mix up basically religion.
Oh yeah, yeah. And what the irony is, the people who sit in the United States, with a cell phone in their hand, looking at their Instagram accounts, ready to order another pizza, they write countries off like that as being like, and like, some lower class, educated, not as correct as them, right? Which I think is funny because the U.S. is just as complicit, just as guilty of the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's mostly, honestly, like, when in real life, if I ever get shit or giggles from friends or people that know that I actually engage, at least even to this extent, against, or debating against religious bullshit and all that stuff, that's how I justify it. I go, take a look, dude. Like, if you want to say this isn't a real problem, that's on you. Then you're part of the problem, because that's why it's a problem, because everyone just fucking ignores it. At least that's my opinion. I think it's weird when we sit around and we go, wait, what? How did what? No way. That would never happen. No way. What? I'm so shocked. And I'm just looking around going, how are you shocked? Like, look what's going on.
I mean, I agree with all that. What am I going to do about it? I show up, I press the button, It's what I do. Once every 2 years, show up, press the button, what I think is the right button, move on. Call people retards on the internet. I do that too. I press the button and I call people retards.
I like to engage with people and then get them to say stupid, rancid shit out loud, and then ask them more questions to get them to say more stupid, rancid shit, and then like get them to double down on it and then say some more stupid, rancid shit. I think it's funny.
Look at you. You're manifesting a lot of.
I saw a funny thing. I saw a funny thing that was, it said, like, bro, that's an ad hominem attack. I said, this isn't to respect you. I'm just calling you stupid. Like,
well, that's not really a debate then anymore, right?
I agree. It's not a debate. I'm just insulting them because I think they're stupid. Yeah, it's not. I can't. I would be elevating them to make them think they're even worth debating. If you've accepted the debate, you've already lost. You've
Well, right, and technically speaking, most people misuse the term ad hominem, just like they misuse the term begging the question. I see it all the time, dude. People it's crazy, and so like, you know, it's just, oh, they don't like that you said something mean about them, therefore it's ad hominem, and that's technically not what ad hominem.
No, yeah. If you like give a thoughtful, and then afterwards say you're a retard, that's not an ad hom. From my understanding, at least.
Yeah, it'd be ad hom if you said, well, that assessment that you just made and the way you laid out your principles of the argument that you're trying to put forth are invalid because you're a retard.
Yeah. And also, maybe that's an implicit appeal to authority, because you're kind of saying, like, that non-retards have a more valid perspective.
It's not really an argument. I mean, that is the definition of ad hominem. It pretty much kills the whole discussion if you go there. You know, how is someone going to come back from if you call them, hey, you're an idiot, that's why your argument doesn't count? That's not a very good way of argumenting, I would say. You should always keep the center point in the middle. Get the person who's in front of you. Then you can have more of a productive discussion, right? Otherwise, it just becomes ego talk, man. We'll see who can get the best stupid words out, and to make the other person feel smaller, or try to at least.
You know, imagine, I didn't even know about this Paula White Kane person. I'm reading about her. It's just crazy.
It's embarrassing, dude. But I mean, if you think about it, like, it's perfect for Trump, right? Like, that's totally Trump's spiritual advisor. If it was Obama's spiritual advisor, it'd be something different if he had to have one, right? Like, it's just, that's just insane, dude.
If you want to check out crazy people, Kenneth Copeland, it's another, it's basically along the lines of Paula White, similar, Kenneth Copeland. Even his looks, he looks like he's straight out of some horror movie.
Yeah, that dude's a scary dude. Jeff, Mr. T.
Pretty cool. I guess.
We were just pitying some fools.
As we do.
Get it? You know? Pitying some fools, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mark, speaking of the creationism thing, why is it like every time you talk with a Christian and you get them to like start explaining themselves about this creationism stuff or whatever, they just like, they go to the most rudimentary reasoning. Like they start talking like cell phones and computers, and they like try to make this analogy. It's just so bizarre to me that it's missed.
You're talking about the classic watchmaker analogy?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I get confused a lot of times just in a response. Like, I don't even know where I'm even at. Like, I'll hear them go and they'll give me some response, and I get lost. I'm like, we've taken a left turn already, and I don't even know where we're going.
Yeah, it's just strange. I really don't understand how, like, it seems like as soon as they start talking, you should be able to interrupt them and go, yeah, I agree. Humans create things. And then what they do is they jump and they go, so what do you think? Humans made the mountains? Can you make a planet? Like, it's just the worst speech patterns and reasoning I've ever come across most of the time. It's fucking crazy.
Well, and you can't interrupt anybody because then they get all worked up about being interrupted, and then that becomes like a side discussion or a waste of time for like maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, man, I was just gonna land. Let me land. If you let me
I think this is the funniest thing. People don't understand the difference between when somebody makes a point and you'd like to address that point before they move on, and they're done with that point, they start talking about something else, interrupting to address that point, versus when you are outlining a series of premises and you haven't yet made the point, and they jump in one of the premises and they don't see a difference between these two things. I mean, that annoys the fucking shit out of me.
I think it's mostly because it's defensive posturing and they're just unaware of it and it's subconscious. So, like, it's always defensive. And so that's just where they're starting. And so it just gets like that and becomes a shit show.
My wife and I just did IVF. The creator, my baby has a creator. His name is Dr. Mohammed Irani. Peace be upon him, the creator of my child.
That statement in the room didn't sound dumb at all.
True story.
Hey, Rob, are you a Muslim?
Hey, I'm not, no.
Oh, okay. Are you a follower of Christ by chance?
No, I'm an atheist.
See, this room's already getting boring. We're just a bunch of normal.
I love movies. I talk about movies all day.
All right, everyone has to. Okay, after this, I'm going to say break, and everyone has to leave the room and go grab Christians and Muslims and bring them back. Okay.
Favorite Christian apologist.
That would be any presuppositionalist, but that's the famous Darth Dawkins.
Exactly.
And lately, by the way, that smug shithead Andrew has been using that one. Last time I went into his room, he kind of used that one on me. Or the reverse of it, you know.
Christianity is like trivially easy to just.
Okay, so everybody's quiet in the room. The reason of the room why I name it creationism, because I get into the discussion about creationism with believers, and lately, within the last month or so, and it's been in the news, which means it's been in the real world scientifically discovered longer than it's been in the news. We have developed this biological organism that replicates sort of repercussions when it comes to health productions, chemical productions, all down the line. It's just going to revolutionize a variety of different things in particular aspects.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting medical, ethical, emerging issue to follow that. I saw that story as well from a week or two ago.
I don't know. Let's start with the Trinity. So, if the Father is identical to God and the Son is identical to God, okay, then the Father is identical to the Son. Okay, logical contradiction.
I mean, my question is, why did we go to the Trinity all of a sudden? Where did that come from?
I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying.
Right. My bad. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to a word that you were just saying. With the Trinity, and I'm like, oh, okay, why are we going with that? And now I understand the context.
Yeah, because God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Mark.
Well, that doesn't really make any more sense. I mean, it still breaks the formal rules of logic. A cannot be B and B cannot be C.
Yeah, but Mark, the mistake you're making is you're using human logic, and this is a spiritual issue.
Well, I would either be using logic or I won't be using logic. I mean, if I'm proposing to come about this and approach this in some other way, it would be not.
Well, you're an atheist.
It wouldn't matter. It would be.
Well, yeah, but you're an atheist. You're already angry, and
not even angry.
Well, you're already predisposed to
I'm calmer than you are right now.
Well, you don't even want to open your heart to this new form of reasoning.
Well, what does that have to do with anything? I'm here to talk about logic.
There's no point in casting my pearls before swine.
We've moved on from logic to now my heart. I'm confused.
Well, if you see, look, Mark, have you
And you
even
fucked up my whole walk here. I was going with something and you messed it all up.
have you even asked to have the Holy Spirit get inside of you?
I have actually when I was younger, and not in a weird gay way, you know. But I mean, like, yeah, I as I was struggling with my beliefs, like, I show me something, you know, like I'm ready here, I'm open, I'm as open, ready to be, and nothing really came. There was like a
Wait, so you're telling me you dropped to your knees, you were wide open, and nothing came? That's crazy.
I mean, not sexual at all. Nothing in anything that you were describing there. Not even one bit.
Yeah, it sounds totally not sexual to me.
I always wondered about that. That's always so weird. And then there were times when I thought I had like some spiritual sort of like force. Like people will say, like they get goosebumps or they get some kind of like a weird feeling or whatever. I can get that same feeling now. It can be reproduced via like a really cool music. Like I'm listening to some amazing music or something like that. And then I'll get that same feeling and I'm like, oh, it's the Holy Spirit working. Oh, that's right. It's this great music. That's what it is. Or this amazing movie or this amazing feeling I'm getting from like the story being told. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, that's just because you're already biased, right? So the thing is that is actually Jesus, Mark.
Nicholas, tell me about creationism.
I don't know anything about it. I wasn't there.
I wasn't there either. Therefore, we can conclude it's false, right?
I mean, I just said I don't know anything about it
I know.
because I wasn't there.
I know. I wasn't there either, and because I wasn't there, we can conclude that it's just false because you and I weren't there to observe it, right?
I don't.
Got it.
Bird was shot. According to all the news released. But I actually don't know it because it's too far away from my country. So I could be wrong. But anyways, I don't claim to know anything about creation.
All right. So you're an agnostic like me then. I gotcha.
Or you're just not very creative, is what you're saying.
No,
Creative,
it's just
creative in the sense that instead of saying I don't know, which is the most honest thing, you make some shit up and you go, you know, it was God that made the earth in 7 days, and He spoke. Right? Things that we describe, but it's not physical. And then we want to then backtrack on the very first thing that we were even trying to describe. To even talk about, to even show that things come into existence, we then have to backtrack on it. So it's good that you didn't make stuff up there, Nicholas. I'll just give you that. So that's great.
I mean, just because I don't know and I don't claim to know does not mean I don't make all kinds of other shit up as I go. I mean, I would think that for everybody.
That's right. You don't want to do any of that. I don't want to do any. If I'm going to describe a thing, I want to actually describe it as it actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, but what if that or
I have a hard time describing a feeling. I say I'm having a hard time describing this feeling, and
yeah,
then
but if
I will
somebody
say,
would require,
and then I will give an analogy to that. And no matter what, if that person requires an answer, the analogy will only get so far.
Yeah. So for somebody to write a story about creation, I would say that would be an analogy to the spiritual world that can be very hard to explain in whatever we see. So all the words I use does not quite describe anything about God. It's not even coming close. So that's why God had to come to the world, so that we might know him.
Now, the thing about the difference on what you're talking about here is like when I'm talking about a feeling that I have, meaning that I use an feeling that I have is actually real in the real world, where a God, we don't know if it's actually real in the real world or not. Like the feeling that I have in the real world.
But you would agree that most feelings are pointing to something real.
The feelings and everything in the real world are all going to point to something in the real world, or they may not point to something in the real world. I might actually have a feeling for things that actually don't exist. I might have some concept in my mind that there's a thing that's happening or a thing that's going on in the world that's not actually happening, and I'll have a feeling for it, and it could be pointing to a non-actual thing in the world. So that's the funny thing about feelings, is they're purely subjective, and that's kind of the problem. You don't want to go off of anything based off of a feeling, right?
Not caring about your feelings, not knowing what they mean, not going deeper into yourself, and so on. I think that could lead to you and maybe believing things that just comes from your feelings, which are not based in truth. For example, it could be, does this person like me? I mean, that person could not be even thinking about it. Or I could come up with many ideas that me having ideas about other people and other people not even thinking about me. That could be one way of showing that, of course, you cannot trust your feeling, but I think that's because your feeling is broken. That's something you've learned. You've learned to guard yourself. You've learned to protect yourself. It's the mechanism of falsehood and lies. Because one girl screwed you over, you think all girls will screw you over, but that's not the truth. But you can live in a lie that tells you that all girls are only after money and will screw you over. That's gonna be a lie. That's true, actually.
Yeah, all girls are just after money.
that's what I would attack. Whereas you could just go, hey, tell me something compelling, like the best thing you heard from Jesus in the last couple years, or if you have a personal relationship with Yahweh,
Something
Yahweh
you heard from
speaks to you
Jesus in the last couple of years, like in the book?
I want to hear some information. Share with me the good news. They never have any good news to share.
Yeah, you gotta understand that things like God, religion, stuff like this, spirituality kind of stuff, like the religious variety of spirituality, at least, it's extremely suspect because it shares in common a lot of other things that we think are not true or not real, like demons and goblins and phantoms and pixies and fairies and wraiths. I don't know, boogeyman, banshees, spirits, all this kind of stuff that, none of this stuff we can't verify this stuff. We can't test it. It's not falsifiable. We can't see it, taste it, touch it, feel it, smell it, or any of this stuff. And that, in and of itself, should get
so you need to be able to see stuff and feel it for it to be real, Elliot? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
So I came in late, but I think, am I correct with Nicholas saying he wasn't and he met God and now he's a Christian? How did he become a Christian after just meeting God? Did he meet God and Jesus, or does he say Jesus is God? I mean, I'm curious. I don't know if Nicholas can elaborate on that or not.
Remember, Nicholas, you are muted. You can freely speak anytime you want.
I think he's long gone, dude.
Yeah, no pressure on him. He doesn't feel like talking.
I thought that guy was an atheist. I don't know why. I've seen him in other rooms. I've never really talked with him, and I just opened his PTR once a while ago. I remember this guy now, and I just thought he was some athlete atheist guy that was reasonable or something. I don't know why. It's funny.
So we're back to, again, yet another example of you just can never get anywhere with these kind of conversation with these people. These people are impossible. Yet can never show it. Just with that example of, it's a non-tangible thing, but yet it is tangible. The other day, I got Connie tripped up. She said something about how she got mad at me comparing God to Bigfoot. And I was like, because with Bigfoot and these other things, you have to she came up and got all high and mighty, as a lot of the believers do. They get worked up about some trivial thing because they're elevated on their emotions. I take offense to you calling God a thing. And I was like, oh, well, this was easy. You easily got yourself into a trap. Okay, either God is a thing or God's no thing. So, so I'm agreeing with you. If God, nothing, yeah.
I also have to point out here that when people say that they have experiences of God, they're kind of just begging the question. They had an experience that they draw an inference from the experience to the conclusion that it was God. When really what they're doing, any number of things, that could have been an experience of any number of things. They just chose this inference rather than some other one.
And this is the part that bugs me too, and it's so true. The more I dig into this, it's just unfortunate that it's so powerful, and I think the reason it's so powerful is because it's so fear-based. I'm always disappointed when I talk with some people. My my experience when I tell them about how significant things have been. It's like they have to write it off because it doesn't involve God or spirit or something. But if I explain it in a way that should be compelling, at least to someone who's open-minded and creative and empathetic, I feel like I get dismissed. I'm like, how can you not understand? If you told me a story like that, I'd try to be like, okay, yeah, I could see how that'd be a powerful, emotional, human experience for you that's significant. That makes sense. That's a powerful feeling. And it's like they just don't value it, and they want to push this God notion. I don't know. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to.
Yeah. But do you think part of the reason why is that in part it's genetic? Like there's the cultural aspect of it, but there's these ideas about evolutionary psychology that kind of point to the fact that
hierarchy of needs based. You're not doing anything differently than I am. We're doing the same things. We just have different experiences that we're that are deterministic in a sense, right? That I did not control. I did not control when I was born, that I was born, geography, my parents, my first schools, all that shit. I didn't choose any of that, and neither did you. And now here we are, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The top two predictors for which God you believe in. The God that your parents believe in, and number two, the geographic region where you are located. Those are the number one predictors of what your beliefs, your religious beliefs are. Why is that a thing? That shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, God shouldn't be restricted to geographical boundaries.
that's why when you look at comparative religion and you look at all these holy books and the emergence of all this stuff, the main takeaway for me is human psychology, right? How could this whole thing possibly have happened? It seems that it's inherent in human psychology is seems to me to be the most reasonable kind of leading idea about it.
Yeah, humans want to fill in the blank with something, so they make it up.
I've also noticed that, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? And I know I'm kind of, I got my own thing going. I'm not like a scientist for any agency doing wildlife biology in the field. I'm not a photographer for some fucking magazine or whatever. I'm just a guy. But I find that when I speak with theists, strong God believers that say the stuff they're willing to say, it's almost like they're unimpressed with the natural world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's exactly why Spinoza and Einstein took the tack that they did, right? They tried to get people to take all of those beautiful feelings and emotions that they have about God and just apply them to the universe and nature. I think that was that's what they were trying to do.
Name,
be some sort of reverence. And in fact, in that film Noah, I know it was just a film, they tried to make out that Noah and his family were sort of custodians of the earth, looking after it, vegan, this, that, and the other. And you just don't see that with a lot of religious people. They completely disregard the environment. There's absolutely no appreciation or anything. If anything, they think you're a bit weird at times if you appreciate these things.
This was my sort of subject to the room the other day as I was pointing out, and this is where we could argue the overall harm of religion just in general. Obviously, we recognize the harm of religion in all kinds of ways, but in its broadest aspect, and like Christopher Hitchens says, like, religion poisons every single aspect, everything that you can think of. And so my title of my room was like, does religions teach us these fundamental beliefs that people hold, specifically religions? And if it's taught to us that we should not have empathy for other people or the environment around us, religion, that like this is just temporary, this location that we're on, and the more important thing is like some other location, well then like these people are just not going to be helpful or useful to us in the real world in the now, and progressive things that we need to fix, they just won't be on the same level. It just will not happen. So yeah, I see the big issue in this, where it's like these sort of people are like pod people. Their whole principles have been hijacked by some other principles that are detrimental.
But I think often the problem is that they don't actually have these principles, not in a way where it's entrenched within them, right? Whereas I think a lot of people who don't have religion, they don't need this extrinsic accountability, like, oh, because I don't do something, I'm going to be punished for it. And that's why people who are properly into their religion, they're very peaceful, they keep to themselves, they don't try and impose on others. It's the insecure people who are performing. And I think in themselves, they know to an extent that they're performing, that they get very insecure. And so they just take it out on other people.
Yeah, and then the mob mentality that could potentially arise from that kind of environment and energy is freaky, dude. Like, I kind of trip out when I'm watching a big group, like if it's a documentary on churches in the Midwest, you know. Of sexual abuse in the church, and how they'll kind of push the victim aside and go surround the dude and like pray for him, and just like really offer.
Yeah, and I think sometimes there's almost a surprise. So that I speak to some of the Calvinists, I'm on friendly terms with them, and when we talk, in a proper way, we're not debating anything. They're like, "Oh my God, but you sound so Christian." It's like, yes, because in many ways the best way to learn is through experience, and you come to your own truth. It's then afterwards it's summarized in some philosophy somewhere where it's like, oh, that really expresses what I'm feeling. I'm just not able to express it that way. I find often that's when you truly believe something. You've gone through it, you understand it, and then these things make sense, rather than trying to force it through a concept level where you're constantly fighting it because you just don't get what it's about.
Yeah, it's just kind of, I guess that psychology, again, it goes back to the sociology, right? If you got a bunch of people that feel empowered and or just also obviously enabled, but allowed and entitled to make claims and have them don't go unchallenged. Anytime that happens, it's fucking freaky to me. And so watching that shit unfold is crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's where I can't understand where people feel confident enough to even do that. I'm thinking, how do you even trust in what you're saying given how little you actually know? Yes, incredible.
And then we joke about using the Dunning-Kruger effect, as a one-liner, haha. But about something that I really don't, and I've probably exposed that, or maybe not. Maybe it's just the fact that no one knows about. But it's like watching it to such a degree is just so fucking weird.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for sure, I think everyone has blind spots. Like, there's only so much we can compute and take in, and so much time and resource we can spend about thinking and learning. But I agree. I think in this space, when you see sort of people with really extreme positions and they're holding them so confidently, it's just like, yeah.
But again, I think that's due to just the fundamental nature of how the brain works. The brain is a tool that is constantly receiving incomplete information and needing in real time to synthesize, a nice little beautiful poem, called whatever. So that's just, we're constantly always taking incomplete information and filling in the holes in some way and just moving on, so you just have to have metacognition about that fact.
Yeah, I agree. In a slightly adjacent topic, it makes me question sort of our dependency on external tools to now even hold memory for us and do our thinking for us, like AI. I kind of think, oh gosh, like, where does this sort of end in terms of going around with incomplete information given these innovations? But as I said, an adjacent topic, so I don't want to move on to that.
There was this talk on, I can't remember the name of his show, but that guy Tom Bilyeu, he's kind of a goober, but he's had some good interviews, especially in the past. I haven't really followed him much the last 3 years or so, but he had this conversation with that guy who's trying to stay the youngest. You know who I'm talking about? I'm just trying to make it simple.
Yeah.
He's what's his name?
Oh.
Peter Thiel?
No.
He is a billionaire, though.
I know Peter Thiel's he's really into trying to live forever.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. He used to be a Mormon. He's his name's Brian Johnson, and I remember that because now I remember it because I remember thinking in my head, just remember those names super plain. Who is it? Brian Johnson was talking about some shit with Tom Bilyeu that was pretty. I'm gonna go back and look at it. It's from a number of years back, probably 8 to 10 years, even at least 6, 7 years. And it was really fascinating because he was talking about basically your own, not your consciousness, but your, how did he put it? The intellectual property that we are as our own human would. It's kind of weird looking at what they're downloading and uploading now, I don't know. It was just an interesting conversation. Kind of freaked me out.
Sounds kind of odd. I hate it when people talk about human beings and you're an asset. You know, you're a piece of labor. This kind of stuff, like your property. It's just I find that stuff like waste.
Yeah, but equally, we've always done that. Even when searching for a potential mate, it's always been, what assets do they have? Perhaps not in the same way we do now, because things have developed. It's always been, what can they offer me on some level, right? You want the fittest, the healthiest, whatever it might be.
And it's Tom Bilyeu on impact theory, which is actually a good resource. I did check in with his stuff a
I just Googled it, and it says the top strategy, it cites mindfulness, observing your own thoughts or metacognition as the top strategy. But there's many other strategies.
Yeah, and this is when he was still normal looking, because I have seen him since. Not too many things. I haven't researched it too much. I've seen enough. And it's funny. Like, he was just kind of normal then.
Yeah, I think, it's not true for all of this, but it's certainly is true for some of them. Like, for instance, yesterday I was talking to a guy. I don't remember his name. I forgot his name, but anyways, I was, I'm trying to get him to think outside the box, but just every answer they getting answers from the Bible. And really, I would literally directly verbatim. I'll say stuff like, "I'm asking you to take the 30,000-foot view and observe yourself, what choices you're making, how you are thinking about this thing or that thing, etc." And I was having that conversation about that with that guy for 20 minutes straight, and he just couldn't do it. Every single answer he came back with a quote, a verse out of the Bible, or something from his theology in particular. And he just could not bring himself to what Jeff is talking about, where you guys are talking about mindfulness, being just thinking about how you are doing things. I don't know, maybe is it like a weird mental block? Is he just stubborn?
No, it's called fucking indoctrination and a fucking mental virus.
They can't agree to anything that goes against their belief, right? Their faith. Because it'll weaken their belief in their faith, and they can't do that. They can't even agree that they set their alarm clock in the morning and it helps them wake up. They say God and it helps them wake up.
That's funny. That's why I don't believe them. Because that is laughable, right? It's not like I'm laughing. It's not like it's unjustified laughter. I mean, if someone said that to me with a straight face, I said, "So, do you have a smartphone?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, cool. Do you ever use it to wake up in the morning?" "Yeah, I set my alarm sometimes." "Okay, cool. That's cool. So that's what wakes you up in the morning, right? Your alarm?" "Well, I mean, no, God wakes me up in the morning every morning." I'd be like, "Okay," and I would just laugh, right?
Willing, I'm winning. God willing this, God willing that. But then when he doesn't do great, I didn't do so great. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything about God when he doesn't. All things that are good are based upon God, so he's got to keep that mindset.
Yeah, James, if if these people are like really taking stuff seriously, and they say stuff like, so and so, or I have, or so and so has the Holy Spirit, and therefore they cannot be wrong.
Does AA allow people to use nature as their higher power for the program?
I don't know.
Yeah, neither do I.
They can. There are some programs that are secular. You want to find those specifically.
So much. How do you explain how everything got here and is perfectly formed, perfectly balanced with all of the laws and stuff? How do you explain that design?
Well, I don't know why things exist. However, I don't attribute it to anything other than natural causes based on
So you don't know.
the explanation.
So you don't.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I can say I don't know. I got no problem saying that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
However, I do understand that existence is reality, and that's
Yeah. So you can't prove that it's not God, is what you're saying.
right. I cannot prove it's not God. You're correct.
Yeah. That's why we know. Because see, this is the problem with how you.
Why is the Bible so special?
It's God's book.
Who wrote it?
Well, what do you mean by so when you say right, what do you mean?
Well, it's a book, meaning it has words on paper. How those words on paper come about?
See, so when you say come about, can you explain that?
Yeah, like I can write a letter. You give me your address. I can send you an email, and that email comes about through the computer programming that sends the my cognitive ability to take what's in my thoughts in my head that I want to convey to you, and I can have my motor neurons move my hand in a way to where I'm trained how to either write in print or cursive and put down on paper through the ink of the pen that touches the paper, that gets put onto the paper, and I can mail it to you, and that's how it comes about. So the same way that letter gets written, the same way the Bible gets written.
Okay, there you go. See, that's the answer. That's how it came about.
So human beings wrote it.
Well, yeah, human beings had to write it because of the medium within which it exists, right? So the essence of the message is only conveyed by animals, and humans are animals, and so God, he didn't necessarily speak. That's kind of like a symbolic term. But what he did, I can't answer that for you right now. I'm not an expert. But what I can tell you is that because of God's inspiration, the hands of man did in fact write the letters that God wanted to communicate through. So yeah.
All right, cool. Inspired.
Yeah, so we agree. So far,
by their beliefs.
Yeah, we're on the same page so far, right?
Yeah, cool.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you agree with me so far.
Yeah, inspiration is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, so we agree.
We agree. It's inspired.
Yep. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. About to go to work here in a minute.
All right, well, I'll pray for you, JCC, and then maybe we can have more substantive type conversation.
Will do.
I like JCC. He's a good guy. He'll probably learn, the truth soon. I can tell. I think he knows Christ. I don't know if he's felt Christ inside of him, though. That's the thing. I'm not sure.
Diego, are you still a Muslim?
No.
When did you decide to deny Islam?
I'm not sure what you're speaking about.
Do you accept Islam?
I do not.
When did you decide to deny Islam?
I never denied Islam.
Oh, okay. So you're on the fence right now? You're not sure? You're not sure Islam could be for you?
Right.
Okay, cool. So what are the strong points that you're considering of Islam that make it something you should consider?
The strict adherence and applicable logic in its worldviews that have existed. So, like, I agree with things like how to be one man. I agree with things like what they expect out of families and how they're raised and culturally. There's certain things that I identify with from other cultures that I think are very valuable from a 2026 modernized experience.
Right on. Care to go any more detail? Like what specifically? Like, can you give me something that I can measure so I know how it applies to like civics or I don't know, international relations or environmental health or something like that?
I'm a tad confused, Diego. When you say you respect the way they treat women, do you be referring to stuff like when they throw battery acid in the face of young girls for exposing their angle?
Well, I specifically use the word applicable pertaining to modernized society because I understand that, words that have existed throughout different time periods are obviously going to have things in it that aren't going to apply the same, but logically speaking, right, certain things they do, for example, they cover the woman with the hijab, and they have certain rules in place where the woman cannot go out. I think they need to have 4 men, or they have strict guidelines in terms of protecting what is, woman cherishable. They sort of kind of expose the strengths to increase, the things that make a woman valuable by protecting and providing. And those certain things, even though in the sense, like in the Christian Bible, there are certain things like stoning a woman that obviously wouldn't apply to today's day and age, but the logic behind it, basically one does wrong, communally there will be repercussions because of that action.
It's just to make sure a man doesn't get a boner, right? Let's just be simple about it.
Yeah, I mean, in simple terms, you could say that. Very simply put, back then it may have been it may have been seen very differently, but how it applies today, standpoint, that's logic is still going to exist, even if it's not as dramatic as it was once.
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag.
What is it about like throwing acid in a woman's face that makes her strong?
It's soul building for one. Because just because they're Islamic doesn't mean that over here Christians shouldn't consider why God allows for them to have those things happen to people, right? So if you asked God, why do you allow battery acid in women's faces to occur in reality in your creation? What is the reason? It's got to be a good reason, right?
You ever seen any photos of this, Diego? Because I have. You ever seen you know what battery acid does to a person's face?
If you believe an indoctrination of morality, right, derived from this book, includes some type of violence, like I just, give you analogous language with the Christian Bible in today's day and age, then it seems facetious.
Wait, hold on really quick. Can you ask your question again, Elliot? I want to make sure I heard.
Oh, I was just wondering if Diego has ever seen what battery acid does to a person's face.
Funny you mentioned that. I had some sulfuric acid accidentally poured on me from a car battery, and I was completely fine.
Okay, so the answer is
yeah, it got in my eyes too.
So you haven't seen it. That's all. The answer is just no, right?
Well, I'm speaking from personal experience.
Well, yeah, your personal experience based on the question asked, the answer would be no, right?
Sure.
Yeah, me too. That's my recollection. I mean, maybe I have. I don't know. Did you see what it looks like? Is it battery acid for sure?
Yes, battery acid. It disfigures you. Makes you look like fucking donkey. There's photos and videos of it.
Yeah, it's awful. You hear about cases like this in papers, but I would say, as far as I'm aware, that's not an Islamic practice. You know, in London, I can't speak for anywhere else, but you get girls doing that to other girls from different gangs, or when there's a ex involved or whatever, you've got men doing that to women more generally. I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I'm not an expert on the Quran or anything, but I don't think that's in there, that you can throw battery acid on people.
Yeah, but he didn't say, Diego was talking about the Quran. He said he respects the way they.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is I don't think, as a general, what that group is doing. I think you get people who throw battery acid for lots of reasons, quite often out of jealousy and revenge. And where you get people who have perhaps a more sort of insecure incel mindset, yeah, and that's cross-cutting. You get lots of them who have a Muslim faith, you have lots of them who don't have a Muslim faith. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no doubt they do it for different reasons. But I didn't say it just for any reason. I said specifically because they expose their ankle.
But is that, I mean, I don't know, maybe you've seen a case where somebody's been, I mean, I've never heard of that, but that's crazy if that's the case. I mean, that's just wild.
Yeah, it's like seeing those videos where a chick shows up in the driveway of some other chick, and the chick in the driveway, but then she gets knocked out, then she grabs her hair, pummels this chick around the driveway, and it was because of what, somebody said. And, it's like same kind of shit, right? Like, there's all different reasons that motivate people to act violently.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I could draw the same conclusions. That let's take there's a black girl who attacks another black girl, and they both happen to be from Nigeria. Oh, that's what Nigerians do. No, I wouldn't. It's okay. That's a horrible thing to happen. I wouldn't try and what's the psychology behind it? What's the motivation? But I don't know if I'd say that is a rule for that group.
Right. Yeah, because if I were to do that, I could just go on one Instagram channel, hopefully one that I'm not following because I don't get feeds like that, but I guarantee you I could find one that regularly shows white Christian Americans just acting absurdly racist and or violent and or tribal, against one another. But would I go see? That's all of MAGA. Yeah, it's crazy out there right now. Media has always been so fascinating to me since I could even remember paying attention and thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I think sometimes these religious conversations can get a bit stale. It's always a sense of one-upmanship, And I honestly think that when people do sort of conform to their religions in a peaceful way, most of those people are just ordinary, decent people. They don't wish harm on anyone. They just go about their lives. 90% of what you do is the same. You want to have a nice sense of home. You want to feel like you have some sort of purpose throughout the day. You want to have a sense of family, whether it be a partner, a family, just your friends, whatever. Then we get, too caught up on this sort of, that religion's worse than that one. And I think you're right in terms of, the media and how it sort of frames things.
See, that's an interesting phenomenon too, right? Because that's secularism, is having multiple denominations and then getting along, respecting each other's private beliefs, because they don't overlap too hardcore in community, social policy, and or law. So that's fine, and that's secularism, right? And then what we do is then, because it's been pretty successful, fights amongst each other are frowned upon. So how do you manage and regulate that? But then at the same time, it's to be expected, right? Because we are just human animals, and we have all these tribes that we are fostering and enabling and allowing to intermingle and coexist and be together at large scale. And then we tout, oh wow, how wonderful is it? We haven't had any disruptions or civil wars or anything weird. I mean, I'm just kind of talking off the fly here, but
Yeah, and I think the shifting social context also has an impact on what you see as a tribe, right? So before, I think it was much more literal. It'd be on your geography and on the colour of your skin. But that's not allowed anymore. That's a very ugly thing to do. Generally speaking, it's frowned upon. So it has shifted, and now you're seeing it more with people's politics. I mean, I think that's always been there, but it's definitely come to the forefront where people will feel so strongly they'll cut people off. I don't think they were quite so strong before. Even neurodiversity, that's another really popular sort of tribal grouping now, and obviously LGBT's been around for a while too, and it's strange. We always have this need to have a tribe that acts that we use to virtue signal with. I find that interesting because that's ultimately what people are trying to do here. Their identity, get that out there to the world, and it's like people recognize that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. To me, it dilutes it anyway. If you have that as your mantra, I'm so unique. Let me tell you all about it and show you all these other people that think like me too, or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Agree. So when I hear people on here talking about people being, oh, you're such a normie, it's just like, oh, really? that's the personality you're adopting. I remember that being popular when people were in secondary school, you know, trying to prove that they're otherworldly and a bit sort of out there and a bit sort of misunderstood. It's like, that's not a personality. That's just being an ass.
Or if they're not an ass, and it's just it is, you know, I felt out of system. Yeah, there's always something you can do from where you are, I guess. You know, unless you're shackled or. Not. Interestingly, Israel's level of like threat based on our own, you know, whatever system we use is like threat levels. Say it's like, you know, green, yellow, orange, red, whatever. We're also processing this NDAA Section 219. It used to be Section 224, which blends Israel's military with the United States military on multiple levels: intelligence sharing, weapons building, contracting, access, distribution, everything. So much shit. So those are two contradictory moves, in my opinion. So all that movement makes me a little skeptical and causes me to think there's like some protocol triage that they're doing on that particular.
Yeah. Travelers going there? What kind of
Yeah,
threat are you talking about?
well, the level of the threat on the system that I guess monitors their threats like either espionage type of deal, spy activity, whatever. The stuff that I don't know about. But some kind of like
Okay, yeah, I don't know about that part of it, so I'll have to look into it.
yeah, I just found that interesting. And even if that wasn't on the table, right? Let's just take that off the table. Doesn't even matter. You're like, what the fuck? What?
I mean, I think that kind of might make sense because you're talking about two different levels here, right? You're talking at sort of the highest level of sort of government and this, that, and the other.
Maybe that, you're right. It may be a different structural, application because it's talking about populace or citizenry or something versus, national security or something, like in that sense. Thinkers or something.
Because, I mean, I can't speak for the US, but in my space, I see that all the time. So behind closed doors in the national security space, it's a very different picture to what the public will see in terms of a lot of outward policy. In this case, you've got two policies that are sort of more publicised. I don't actually know how much attention people are paying on sort of to these things on your side of the world, but I tend to find the UK quite often things do get missed, and it's only when you're sort of working in these spaces that you see sort of the different signals that are sent out, which on the surface do appear contradictory, but there's actually a system to them.
Oh, for sure. And that's why I even, the media. I mean, if you just look around, I could always just say on any given day, hey, it worked. Look, it worked. Look.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is a lot of justifying why it's worked or why actually we knew it wasn't going to work or how actually this is still progress and this is the way it had to be. It's not too dissimilar to some of the religious talks you've had, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I just find those two items, let's just say I restricted it to my immediate influence. Okay, so let me look at my immediate influence. Well, what are my resources? Well, let me go to the library. I'm going to look through the card catalog, and then I might get on this new fandangled computer thing they got over here. Nexus, it's called. Okay, like, what am I going to do here, right? I'm going to get online, I'm going to research some.
I've been working in creation energy for the last 6 weeks, like fully bringing it in, watching our mind as like a sparkler, right? And every thought is powered by the momentum that it is given, right?
I'm going to need you in my life. Can you do energy on my crotch area?
Well, I can teach you how to do that yourself. That's how it is. Anyway, when we have to kind of train the mind to unthink or untrain the thinking mind, right? Because every thought is such a powerful force. The more we direct our thoughts, the more we're living from that energy of creation.
what's an interesting one is thinking about how sharks have been around longer than trees. I always find that interesting to throw out to like the theist community and see how they deal with that, because it really gives you some perspective, you know.
Were before trees, I think, as well.
What were?
Funguses. I think primordial Earth was covered with these giant primordial funguses.
Yeah, that's rad. Have you?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Dude, not unrealistic.
Speaking of evolution in abiogenesis, there was actually a really interesting development last year in abiogenesis where forever they were saying that one of the steps they thought was the meteor impact because they knew that the prebiotic elements were in outer space, but they didn't think compounds already in them. So the whole meteor impact yeah.
Can you, dude? I hate to be a fucking pain in the ass. Can you repeat part of that? Because I like go away from my phone.
I'll put the link. But last year, so there's this guy. I'm actually friends with him, the scientist guy on LinkedIn. He's I forget his name, Akbar or something. But he's at Max Planck in Germany, and last year, using new sensors and stuff, he made a very important discovery, which is that he found a protoplanetary disk, which we already knew about, right? That these things exist that spit out planets. But he found one that was spitting out planets with the prebiotic compounds, the building blocks of life, all have arrived later through a meteor impact. They could not have survived like the fiery formation process. But now it was shown that it is actually happening right now. There's a protoplanetary disk that's spitting out planets with those compounds in it right now that he found with the new sensor. I'll put a link in the chat to find the study.
That's crazy. That is freaking like that, like just like that. Boom. Then you have to shift.
Well, because abiogenesis is like this whole sequence of events, right? And some of which we have really good ideas about, and others we don't, right? I think that's a fair analysis of it. But anytime that it can become more radically simplified like that, it's a great step for sure.
Relative at all to or similar or analogous to a kind of industrial time or industrial sequence?
Yeah, a lot of what they do is sense for like emissions, basically. Is that what you're saying? Like a lot of what this...
Yeah, without trying to say like humans would produce on planet Earth, because I don't know what level it is, but it sounds like there's some truth to that.
Well, all I'm saying is that there's truth to the fact that that's one of the methods is to look for signatures like to assume that the life there might be like the life here, which is a big assumption, right? And to look for the similar types of emissions, basically. That's all I'm agreeing with.
Which could be just from a point of view, like not even anything that they've constructed, or talking.
It would just be, it would identify places in the universe for them to try to dig in further. I think that's the idea.
Yeah, and so far they haven't come up with anything positive in that regard.
Right.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. Like we're to that level that if it came up on the scanners, you could start putting your bets higher on there being some kind of like animal type thing. Or at least something that could, I guess, produce an off gas from production or transportation or some kind of industry or what? Like, what are we even talking here? See, that's what trips me out about it. Yeah, I don't know. But at least there is something to it. I just remember hearing something, I didn't know much about it, so.
Okay, so I put the link. This is not the study, but I'm guessing that this link probably has the actual study, but this is more of a summary of it from Max Planck, like from the Scientific Institute. So this is what I'm talking about.
That's the protoplanetary disk, right?
Yeah. Like we already knew that planets are formed by these disks that are around young stars, basically, and that's how planets are formed in the universe. So that's been understood for a long time, but the advancement was a new type of sensor allowed this guy to actually find one to kind of disprove a previous theory. There's no way that what those protoplanetary disks do, it's so hot, that process, that these prebiotic compounds couldn't survive that. And even knew that the prebiotic compounds existed in outer space, it was thought that the only way they could have gotten to Earth was through a meteor impact. There's no way they could have survived the protoplanetary disk formation process, but now it's been shown that they can. That's the advance.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so crazy. That's why, like, when you said that at first, I was like, and then with the shift, like, that just shifts the perspective, I would think, in science, right?
It just makes it one step easier. You know, and I spoke to, there's a great room. You guys ever joined that, what's the guy's name, Laird Whitehill or something? He was a student of Carl Sagan, who holds astronomy rooms here. You know, so I spoke to him about it when the study came out. And he said, yeah, you know,
just even hearing you say it made me think it was pretty profound. So I guess I'm impressed, you know?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool development. I mean, because indeed, you know, there's any way that we can simplify a biogenesis story or you know, tighten it up with evidence, you know, the better. So this was, to me, important. Yes.
Yeah, it kind of just confirmed already what the pathway was going toward a little bit better. That's pretty good.
Right.
What about even just the formation of like the moon on Earth or a moon on a planet? Are there different types of formations that can occur?
That's a good question, and I don't know about moon formation, how moons are created. But I really recommend this guy Laird Whitehall. He's very old, but he opens rooms kind of late at night, East Coast, U.S. like I said, he was like a PhD. Carl Sagan was his PhD advisor, and he's a really good guy. Yeah, Dr. Laird. Yeah.
He's an astrophysicist, though. He's not on origins of life research.
True, absolutely. So my discussion about this study with him was in the context of that, not really about abiogenesis dive.
That's funny. I don't know, like last week or whatever, I was hanging out in his room, and I asked him, like, his basically, Dr. Laird was asking Brandon, okay, the sun, when the sun sets, where does the sun go? That was like the basis of his.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the position. Can't necessarily provide any facts about the flat. No. Right? They can't. They go somewhere else. They want to fight me. Like I'm the jerk. Elliot, how long have you been a creationist?
What, you mean what is it called? The Ark Encounter? That's the one you're thinking of?
Yeah.
No, I've never been there. Sounds like about time, though.
You might find yourself pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly surprised. I don't know about that, man. I walk in there and I see, like,
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't know what it's. What's his name? Ken Ham. Is that the guy? That's the guy, right? Ken Ham. I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't know.
just follow Hammett Meta and some of these other, the thinking atheists or whatever. They've covered this. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. What they agreed was that they got some tax loophole to pay for this land that they got all this on. They said, yeah, they're going to make all this money. They hyped it all up. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, some people, like, it's just, what's weird to me is, like, even in movies and TV shows forever, so I've seen people make fun of Christianity, right? Like, it's been, like, the butt of jokes forever, which is just so amazing to me. And then you grow up and you're an adult, and then you look at everything and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how does this even get this far, right? Because it sounds like they just did what they wanted to do. They built this dumb thing. They're miseducating people. They're taking advantage of people, pushing their dumb agenda that's based on LARP and fiction. And then they hit a wall, you know? I'm like, damn, it's a fucking weird story.
He had taught me or whatever. And there was a debate between Ken Ham, the guy, and it was all a big promotion, of course, just to make his museum and everything far more. And the side of the community said, don't debate him, because, like, what was the whole point of the debate? But yet he still did. And Bill Nye, it was like a big thing. It was like 10 years or so, or 12 years or so ago now. Like, Bill Nye went and, like, debated Ken Ham officially on stage, and it would go about as you'd expect it to go. So
Yeah, I just don't understand. Right? Like, you could say, and that's interesting to me, that whole phenomenon. That's a whole, I don't know if you know anything about that.
No, probably, I guess.
Well, that's the, like, Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk organization that has been trying to, I think it goes into high schools. I know it's colleges. It's young, it's youth and teens to young adults is kind of their main focus. And so I know you know who Charlie Kirk is. And so their top organization that they're affiliated with and built, supposedly, on some level, taking big hits and getting exposed for just being odd. This is so crazy to me.
Do you know who Dennis Prager is?
Yeah, PragerU or whatever. Yeah.
Did you ever see him debate like Hitch?
Yeah, I've seen him several times. Yeah, I know of a few of these guys. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So see, you have more. And saw some video that does not feature Dennis Prager at all, and it's just like some, goofy model-esque Mervin's Christian guy or something, Yeah, kind of the same vibe. That's the same vibe. That's TPUSA. It's like PragerU. Same kind of shit.
Well, there are all these crazy Christian nationalists that are running things. So,
do you believe that to be the case?
yeah, a variety of people who are in power that were just waiting. Yeah, who are now, in the White House. Yeah.
Do you believe that Pete Hegseth is a Christian nationalist?
To some degree or another, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's part of the purity ball. Asshole or not, and I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And that whole thing that I told you guys about earlier, that 219 clash, yeah, it's just a contradiction at face value in media to me. That at its like, at the least, it's at least that, and that's. Do you know anything about how many times mammals have been to and or fro the land and back? Mark? Or anyone?
I just know whales are a mammal. They're like a land. They were an animal that were on the land at one time.
Right. And then that process or cycle has occurred multiple times. And I think they have it to if I'm not mistaken, I'm going off of memory. I could be fucking fucked in the head. Delusional. But if that is the case, I think that's like these are the things that I trip out on, Mark. That's why I say it's kind of weird just thinking about sharks and trees, thinking about, just the shit that's been going on here for timescapes that we can't even fucking fathom, bro.
Yeah, well, I try to wrap my mind around it. They try to, there's ways of visualizing these sort of things.
Mark, do you know who Linda Carter is? Damn. Like, she did not have Mar-a-Lago face. She did not get any implants. I don't think that in that era she would have had a boob job. I don't think so at all. Yeah, just interesting. And that's just in like 40 years, or whatever. Yeah, it's getting trippy, dude. All the AI shit and all that. Nicholas, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Nice. So did you, when you left and everything, did you right on. Nice, dude. So with regards to the God thing, what was the convincing, is there anything you could share that you think would be convincing to us, or is it just personal?
I mean, I don't necessarily think anything would convince you guys.
Oh, that's interesting because.
But that would just be an assumption, right?
Well, here, look, you're a Christian, so you already believe in one.
Yeah, but I only believe in one truth and in one light.
Well, look, you think it'd be more of a. Why?
Because I already experienced one God, right. And that one God is truth. So what you're saying is that, no, actually, niggas, there's existing 17 truths, and those truths are not the same. And that just seems
a contradiction. Well, yeah, but that's where you're mistaken. You stopped at one truth, and you were wrong in your beliefs. The fact of the matter is that there's 17 truths.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't even understand what you're saying then.
Well, I'm just showing that, I don't see what would be convincing to you for a special reason if it couldn't be accessible to me. It just gets back to what your God can and cannot do. We already know your God can't force people to do stuff, right?
It's not that he can't.
By doing so, right?
I wouldn't say so.
Why not? You're telling me that your God. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the reason is if God claims to be love, and love exhausts every other option before turning away, and I would say love doesn't even turn away. Love never turns away, but it will not force anyone into being in communion with it.
Right. Okay.
So it's not so much about forcing. It's more about choice than it is about force.
Yeah,
because God's ultimate choice was for example, whatever comes out of me is my nature in some way. So
yeah,
why it's not
But
wrong.
Nicholas, this God that is pure love, does he have any other qualities or characteristics? Like, is he the omni God or not?
I mean, since love goes everywhere, he goes everywhere. So even to the darkest place, God's there because love goes everywhere. That's how his omniscience work.
How's that work with the 2010 Haiti earthquake? He's saying God's love was there.
So
200,000 people.
So in the same way, the story about the Good Samaritan. So we have these people who believe in God. They just walk by this guy who need help. And then we have another guy who is just controversial by himself, being there. A Samaritan, he helps the guy, and he's willing to get dirt on himself, blood on himself, whatever he needs, and he gives everything he has to that guy, which he doesn't even know. He doesn't speak about doctrine. He doesn't speak about believing in this and that. He just helps the person before anything else. So he doesn't even say so it's your own fault you're laying here. He doesn't teach him anything. He helps him before anything else. And I think that kind of love transforms people more than just speaking to people, and motivating people to do something different. I think love transforms more than anything else.
This is part of kind of like the assessment we were doing earlier, and Elliot was leading the dissertation. He had some studies that we were going over with regard to the psychology of Christianity. I think that's when you weren't, and like you were gone for a while. We thought you were there. What that study was showing. It's interesting.
Yeah,
the Christian God is absurd because, okay, if Christian God is like triomni, it is all powerful, all knowing.
For once, I haven't claimed any Christian God. I haven't claimed any Christian God because I don't even know what you mean by Christian God.
I just mean the triomni God.
Yeah, but triune God doesn't mean anything if you don't.
No, I didn't say triune. I said triomni. Not triune. Triomni.
Yeah, but triomni doesn't mean shit.
It does mean something. It means God is all powerful, all knowing, and all loving, or perfectly good.
Yeah, but how do you come up with that concept? Why is that?
That's what the Christian God is.
Classical theist.
So based on your interpretation about what a Christian.
Is your God Yahweh?
Yes, But
The Bible, right?
Yeah, but
Of the
again,
Bible?
Yahweh is a name.
Wait, hold on.
Anybody
Is
can
your
claim.
God the one in the Torah? Is that your God?
Yeah, so my God is the one.
Okay, hold on, really
Jesus
quick. I just
revealed
have
on the
one
cross.
follow-up question. It's really quick. Just want to make sure we're talking about the same God. So, and so is your God jealous?
My God is the one Jesus revealed on the cross.
Is it jealous?
So the best revelation we have about God is Jesus
Is your God
revealed
jealous,
on the
though?
cross.
Yeah, is he jealous?
So did
You don't know.
somebody?
So you don't know if he's jealous.
I know exactly what you mean.
Well,
Because
then
you're
just answer
pointing
the
to a
question.
reference in the Old Testament.
Just answer the question.
I'm answering your question, but you refuse.
Okay, here, I'll mute up while you answer yes or no.
No.
Okay, so your God is not jealous. You tell me, dude. That's how he's described. I don't
No,
know.
you asked. No, he's described as somebody who's willing to die for anyone. That's how he's described.
And I asked you if God is Yahweh of the Torah. You said yes, and that God is described as jealous.
And I changed my answer to no. I believe in the God Jesus revealed.
Do you believe in the
And
God?
I believe there's a
Do you believe in
difference
the
between
Yahweh of the
Testament and-
Torah?
I believe there's a difference in how the Torah came about and how the New Testament came about.
That's okay. So it's a different God.
No, it's not a different God, but people have different opinions about God.
Is it the correct
People are
way to interpret who God is through the Torah?
So the correct way to interpret the Torah
Is through the
and
Torah,
the New
right?
Testament is through the cross. No, it's not through the Torah.
Oh,
It would
do
be
I have
wrong.
to read the Torah to understand who God is?
No.
No. Okay, so all I have to do is
It would be so. For example, for you to know me, would you have to be reading a book about me or say hi to me?
I'd have to know you, talk to you, probably play ping pong, drink some beers and shit.
So that's how you get to know somebody. You don't get to know somebody by reading about them.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know God?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I came to faith.
Yeah. So you know God, not so, but it's the same God. It just happens to be the case described in that book.
Yeah. So I believe that Jesus revealed that God.
I'm sorry.
I know
it's like come on, bro. Like come
okay,
on.
You can ask me if I believe that the Bible is God's word.
Okay, hold on. Do you believe that the Torah is describing the same God that you believe in from the New Testament? Yes or no? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so then you don't believe in the Torah God.
Yes, I do. But I don't believe in your.
How do you know?
What jealous?
Wait, how do you know you believe in the Torah God?
Because.
Because what? How do you know? How can you tell? How can I confirm that? Because so far, I've given you things that you disagree with from the Torah. So
I don't disagree with the text. I disagree with your interpretation of what it means.
No. I just said, is he jealous?
Yeah, and I said no.
Yeah, that's not actual.
Yeah,
that's not factually correct.
It is factually correct, but you're just misunderstanding what it means.
Okay, here, let me look
God
it
says
up.
he's
Look
jealous.
it up right now.
No.
Look it up right now.
He says clearly, I'm a jealous God.
Oh, okay.
So
then
we have to go. So my hang-up is that what does it mean that God is jealous?
He's a liar. He's a liar?
I'm asking you, what does it mean that God is jealous? In when God says, I'm jealous, I'm a jealous God, what does it really mean?
God doesn't mean what he says he means when he says it in the Bible, is what you're saying.
I mean, actually, he don't use the word jealous anywhere in the Bible.
That's what Christians do. They take the words
and they
change the meanings. Well, I mean, we've all read it. We know it's there. That's what Christians do. They take the words and change the meanings of the words. And so and that's the only way that Christianity is true. And I have a very pointed question about this. Why should anybody use the New Testament to understand the Old Testament? Why should anybody accept it?
Because of the New Testament's claim. That's why. So the New Testament's claim is that God sends his only son to die on the cross to show who he was. And Jesus, based on the New Testament, is the exact imprint of the God we don't see. So
it's not.
if we
That's
want to
nowhere
know about
in the
God, we have
in
to.
the Hebrew Bible.
Yes, it is. Yeah, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
I agree.
Exactly. It's not in the Hebrew Bible. Okay. The Hebrew Bible doesn't tell you that you get to interpret its scriptures through the lens of other scriptures. That's not a thing that you get to do.
Say that again. I mean,
nowhere in the Hebrew Bible does it allow you or say that you get to interpret the Hebrew scriptures through the lens of other scriptures, like Christianity.
You try to like strawman me in some way, because you're speaking about a God I don't even say I believe in. So what I told you by now is that I believe that the Old Testament is true insofar it points to the same God, but people in that same in those times, their concept of God is what was written down. So they believed when it rained, it was God's fault. When it stopped raining, it was God's fault. When they had food, it was God's fault. When they didn't have any food, it was God's fault. When they died in a war, it was because of God didn't let them win. And when they lost, and when they won, it was because God told them. That
when they were loved, that was for sure God's fault, right?
Who broke away from God, right? That's how it started.
Okay.
Based on the Bible, the
old story.
So insofar
is it Job?
That no, we're talking about.
Oh, that's the first book, isn't it?
No.
Yes, it is.
Job is the oldest book.
It's the oldest.
It's the oldest book.
So Job comes before creation?
No, Job is the oldest book written. It was written before.
So you're saying that the story of Job is older than the story of creation?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
At least as far as
it's being
documented. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
It's dated earlier.
Well, and I could get super technical and go, no, because there's a lot of creation stories. So there's creation stories before that. So whatever.
Yeah, but when somebody talks about a creation story, usually they go to before there was a creation.
Right. And so are you talking about like when the angels? Do you believe there's a war in heaven?
I don't know.
Do you believe Lucifer is an angel?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. So did he live before the humans lived?
Actually, I don't know.
You don't know? All right, now that's good.
I don't know.
Well, let's figure it out together. Do you believe that Lucifer? Do you believe that Lucifer was present in the? Do you believe that Lucifer was present in the Garden of Eden?
I don't know. It doesn't say so.
You don't know. Okay. All right, that's fair.
So what I do believe is that man turned away from God by not putting trust in somebody else than God, and therefore they were.
When was that?
Shame in the garden.
But that never happened. There's no Adam, there's no Eve. Okay, that's not how species arise. Species arise as a population over time. as a population. Species don't arise from a single mating pair. That's false, Nicholas. The other thing too is when you say like, and this is probably no, I have a way more impactful thing to say right now.
I don't believe in it.
Okay, well then why talk about Adam and Eve at all?
Because I think.
Okay, well, yeah, then we both agree that it's false. Yeah, it's a story, but it's not true.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say though, that I wanted to say, Nicholas, just hold on a second, dude. The other thing that I wanted to say, and this is probably the thing that I hate the most about organized religion. Okay, organized religion like Christianity and Islam, and to a lesser extent Judaism, the Christian to doubt yourself, to not trust yourself, to not believe in yourself, to think that you are less than, you are a sinner, you are weak, you are nothing, you are a fucking ant to be squashed. You are not deserving, you are not worthy, you are not valuable. That's what Christianity teaches you, Nicholas, and that is a vile and pernicious.
If that's your understanding of Christianity, I cannot take it away from you, but that's not how I see it. So again,
okay, well you're not even disagreeing.
Christianity. I didn't.
Yeah,
Christianity.
So again, you're okay. So let's just get back to the Garden of Eden. You believe that is symbolic? It's just symbolic, right?
So the reason why I went to the creation story is because he talked about John, the oldest book.
Yeah, but all you gotta do
and
is
then
say, yeah, it's symbolic, and then explain.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's fine if you don't want to understand.
Yeah, it's fine if you don't want to answer the question asked.
So what was the question asked?
Do you believe, yes or no, that the story of the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve and the serpent and all this stuff is symbolic?
Yes, I believe it's symbolic. Yes.
Yeah, it's not factual, right?
It is factual insofar it points to something real about human beings.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's still symbolic and metaphorical.
Yeah, but again, it's like my own experience with God. It's something that's very hard to explain with words. But a story is something that's very good to explain things so people can feel it and understand it.
Even kids could understand that, right?
Yeah.
Of course. And it's funny because I never read the story when I was younger. The outline of the story, right? But that's because it's a powerful story because it has weird things, so you remember it. And I think that's how the brain works. You have to see weird images. That's how you remember best.
Okay. So you just think that it's not true necessarily. Like you don't think that God actually had an angel of death do anything, right?
No.
Right. Okay. Do you think that God freed people from Egyptian slavery?
I'm not quite so sure. I think the Old Testament contains stories, history, and poems, and a lot of different.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm not quite clear.
Me too. Okay. Do you think that, or do you believe that there was a big, tall building, and in a place called Babel, and that God took issue with its construction for whatever reason? I don't even have to hear that he was jealous or that he was scared or that he was angry or that he had other plans for them.
God writes for Architectural Digest, so it's just a hobby of his. Yeah.
Like, do you believe that occurred, or is that just symbolic metaphor too, Nicholas?
I don't know. That's what I said.
Okay.
I don't know which parts are history or which part is actually symbolic stories that points to a deeper spiritual truth.
Okay.
About
yours
human
is
beings.
You're kind of more like one of those, like you truly are a cafe Christian. Like you don't even really believe it to be true.
Yeah. So here's where it's different. I don't need the stories to be actual truth. I need the stories to be true insofar it points to who God is. So Jesus is the one coming in history and revealing God as the one who is willing to die for somebody else. So he's the highest form of love is when you're ready to give yourself for somebody else.
Wait,
you
hold
love
on
them,
really
they
quick.
hate you.
Really quick there.
So that's why I say you have to read it in the light of who Jesus was.
Yeah. Was he kind of like a blood sacrifice?
Was he like a blood sacrifice?
Yeah.
I mean, the life is in the blood.
Was he like a blood sacrifice?
I don't know what it means when you say that.
You know, oh, interesting. Yeah, see, I feel like you're not passing the test. I don't think you're a Christian at all, dude. I would just drop the Christianity part.
Okay, fine. I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get broken by people saying I'm not a Christian.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. It'll make it easier, even, you know?
Jesus never sacrificed himself.
The text.
No, he didn't. Pilate asked him like who he's the king of, you know, and he pussied out. Instead of doing what's written in the messianic prophecies that the Messiah will be a king who will rule over Israel. He didn't say that. He pussied out and said, "Oh, my kingdom is not of this world." He was a coward.
Yeah, but he also says that the kingdom has come. It was one of the first things he said when he came here.
Yeah, what does that mean? So what?
Yeah, so when the kingdom comes, it means that the king's presence is near.
Thy will be done. Is that what comes next?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
On
That's not what I'm
earth as
talking
it is in
about.
heaven. You know that one?
Yeah, why are you saying that?
Give it.
So first of all, you haven't heard my story. That's fine.
It did well. Have you heard my story?
No, but I would like to.
Would you? So I had a vision. It was very powerful. It was just within the last 3-4 years that God of the Bible is a farce and a scam perpetrated on a lot of people's psychology over decades and centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that wild?
I mean, that's fine. If it's true.
Well, it is true because you want me to tell you my argument? personal and intimate and powerful to me, I couldn't expect you to like even at all what I was thinking and feeling, you know?
Okay. That's fine. I can't argue with whatever your experience.
Yeah. Did you have some profound experience that like impressed you when you were in that moment of time as yourself?
Yeah, I had an experience that impressed me. Yeah.
Can you give us the most impressive part about it?
Yeah, I went to bed and I was met by a light, and this light was more personal than anything I could describe. It was more personal than a human being. It was God. I just knew it. Not based on force, but based on pure knowing. And it felt like I was being loved more than I could ever be loved. It was a love that somebody knew you completely, but then accepted you for who you really were. It was a more, that's why I can say that God's love, because I do believe that that's who I met. I could be wrong, but still, my experience.
No, you're not wrong.
Changed me overnight.
Yeah. And I wanted to let you know something. I can empathize with that, and I think that's a beautiful story because, like I was saying earlier, you know how I was positing that there's actually 17 truths? Well, part of that truth is that was me, dude. That light that you felt, that was me, because I'm managed by the 17 beings.
Yeah, so that's fine. But what I do believe is that there's absolute truth, and that
Okay. Well, I mean, is it true or like I don't know?
I mean, I prefer not to waste my time, and I think you guys waste a lot of people's time. So
okay. Thank you. Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I tried to be light and funny, you know.
If you checked out the channel, The Good Liars, you know them, right?
Oh yeah, they're great.
You remind me of that. You remind me of that approach, right there.
They say it, dude. I don't. It's like.
And it's just silly when the only thing they can, when they default to, yeah, I had an experience, and then they pretend as if there's no other way to figure out whether what they believe it is true. Or you could be a rational agent. You could use rationality. You could use reason and logic and facts and evidence and stuff like this to figure out what's true and what's not true. Instead, they just throw all that shit out the window and go, "Oh, I just had an experience." But if that's all there is, then like any random Joe Schmo can say, "I had an experience," that your experience is false, and what the fuck are you gonna do?
my comic strip, and it, wasn't it you, Elliot? Were you one of the people that tried to like let me know, like, no, dude, this is a real deal. These people actually do, and there are people. The people actually do believe this stuff.
I might have said something like that. I wouldn't say that's true for all people that claim to be believers.
Right. Some
They're
do.
Figures, posers.
Yeah, like the people we talk to on here, even if there are a bunch of actors and posers, right, or just jokers, or like guys that are like on the fence, you know, and it's kind of obvious, but they have to pull, or whatever it is, different motivations. Overall, there are some people that you encounter here that actually will.
I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, you could. I suppose it's fair to like make inferences from what they say and how they behave and stuff like that. I suppose that's fair, but it is still kind of hard to figure out like who's the poser, who like genuinely believes that like God talks to them, and like this other person is a being of pure.
Which is fine. Look, dude, I do. I can't even see my own guts, right? So whatever. I can't see my own brain. So there you go. I'll start there, and then outwardly, who fucking knows? Ants have a different world than I do. It's different perspectives, different,
When Dennett says that most people think that believing in God is good, so they believe in belief rather than believing in God. They believe in the belief in God. They think that's the good thing, so they just and so that carries them some of the distance. I don't know exactly.
Well, I find some utility in this, and it works for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's always been my position, dude. If I can establish that out of the gate, which a lot of times I do, I even like because and I'll even preface it because it could be a hard one to broach, right? Because you kind of almost got to say, hey, this could be the most insulting thing I say to you in this exchange. I don't believe that you really believe this stuff, right? Gives us some structure, calendars, we like the events, socializing, community, all the things, right? If they just came out and said it, I would have a lot more respect for them. But they won't just concede that it's mostly their opinion and their preference, and that it's not necessarily factually based. It's crazy. Like, why can't you just concede? I will right now. The stuff we talk about next about afterlives and heaven, gods, divine books or not, their Genesis, and other topics. These are my opinions. Are you willing to say the same? I'm not saying it's based in fact. I'm not an expert. Are we good on that? And if they don't agree to those terms,
the trick that gives them the utility, so then they can't back out of it or be aware of it even.
wait, what do you mean? The faith is the utility?
Well, in order for them to admit that it's primarily a function of utility, I guess what I'm saying is that the way that they get that utility is by having faith in the first place, right? Arguably, right? So it's like they cannot be self-reflective about that.
Ah, yes. It's like self-fulfilling.
Yeah.
that prayer has on people. And one of the things that we've learned from those studies is that when people pray, the regions of their brains that activate are the same regions of the brain that activate when people take drugs, like COVID and even marijuana, all manner of drugs.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that. It
is correlated by people who believe in that with like, oh, I took some drugs, and oh, well, if you took this, you'd see more about the God thing like I do. I always find that fascinating.
Right. That people could possibly take seriously the fact that the way to find God is through drugs. Yeah, it's wild.
Well, and because I think there's plenty of evidence with not a really big
If I may, I just want to finish my point. Is I think for anyone who is going to lead the HHS and is going to be making claims about COVID being ethnically targeting, or autistic people not being able to carry out several tasks or simple ones as a fact, I've been able to. I am living proof. I just think that a person like that should not be in a place of and should be dedicated to a position that he's a lot better at, which Steve just mentioned earlier.
No, it isn't, but also don't continue, because what you're about to say is probably going to be used against you, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't sound like it's like a open dialogue.
This isn't like a peaceful place to.
Actually, it is.
If you have.
It's actually very docile, I would argue.
If you have any objections, I promise it will come back to haunt you.
No. No.
Aware that there
I'm going to interrupt you right there. So, do you know the appropriate context? And if so, please tell us.
I'm driving right now, so I can't pull that up.
Okay, so right now you don't know. That's okay.
Well, and Holly, please continue, and after I can give you the context, because I have the quota.
Okay. And then I'd be interested to hear the other context for the other one that you said that was pretty egregious. The one about COVID targeting. So I'd be curious about that. I don't know about that one. But he's always been not anti-vax. That's something that keeps being repeated over and over. The dude is not anti-vax. He's said that over and over and over. His whole shtick is, listen, like, we should be investigating this shit more. Like, there are some questionable links that I would like to see if there's a there. That's his whole thing. And he's been demonized and
Okay,
hold on one second. Anti-COVID vaccine is not the same as being labeled anti-vax.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
The two are distinctly different.
Yeah.
Because one of them wasn't actually a vaccine. One of them is actually an mRNA modified chemical.
For the autism one, he was at a press conference for the Autism Research Initiative. To the autism research. It was in April last year. And he was arguing that autism was caused by mental exposure. And what he said was, word for word, is, quote, these are kids who, many of them, were fully functionally regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes, they'll never hold a job, they'll never play baseball, they'll never write.
I was 10 years old, I was given the diagnosis of monster therapy, and